NXT is back with another PLE coming up here on the weekend as they look to counter-program AEW's Forbidden Door with Heatwave. And I will say at the beginning of the week we did the look ahead to this and I was rather negative on it. And I don't think that's going to change. But let's run through the preview here. Jordynne Grace against Blake Monroe in a singles match. This has been a bit of a botched feud to begin with Blake Monroe. They got her in right away as they needed to do this big introduction with her and all of that. And this is the second time in a row that they have done that. They've done the big debut. It got a big whatever. Oh my God, Tony dropped the ball. Tony sucks, all those different things. And then they haven't followed up very effectively. Blake Monroe came in, kind of felt like a heel, then went over to the babyface side. All the heels beat her up. And then she turned on the babyface who she teamed with against the heel, I guess, to go with the heels that just beat her up. And then, to counter all of that, why? Why, Blake, would you do that? Well, because Jordynne Grace 15 years ago was less attractive as a human by some traditional standards. Okay? Like, this hasn't worked. And they have tried to kind of pivot it a little bit with the promo they did on Tuesday with Blake Monroe just saying, like, you're not a star. Like, they were... A lot of the focus was on the looks initially. They kind of pivoted away from that, and it was just the insecurities of Jordynne Grace, and that's why she's not a star, with a lot of wink, wink, nudge, nudge, you know what I mean, to what a lot of that is. It is not a good story. It is not a good introduction to the Blake Monroe character. It has done, I think, significant damage to the Blake Monroe character in WWE and in NXT. This was a performer that was coming off of one of the stories of the year with her and Timeless Toni Storm. And to get that buzz, and now coming out of it, that you only get one first impression. And now most people, when talking about Blake Monroe, are talking about, well, I guess a lot of that was Toni Storm then, wasn't it? Because this just hasn't hit in any way at all. From a match standpoint, I'm not expecting brilliance. I think it's going to be fun. I think it's going to be a good match. I think in the end, like, you have to give Jordynne Grace a win after all of those things that Blake Monroe said. You have to let Jordynne Grace now come out and get her comeuppance on Sunday on Netflix for those of us here internationally. I don't see how you have Jordynne Grace lose this. I had said before, like, this felt like the time. Evolution, it's a big platform. Let Jordynne Grace get her win and take over as the face of NXT, because it felt like she was a little bit lost in the sauce with Stephanie Vaquer and with Julia, and when all those performers came in all at once and then they all left all at once. Jacy Jayne gets her moment with the title. Okay, now Jordynne Grace gets to go in and take it from her. They didn't do that, and so because of that, I was a little bit like, oh, I don't know. You get this, like, frustrated, more fiery character out of Jordynne Grace, and then to try to get more out of that, really amp up the personal stuff with Blake Monroe, you can kind of see where they were thinking. I think the execution has been bad, and I appreciate Jordynne Grace coming out and showing that vulnerability on Tuesday, but now I think we need to get back to, I am a furious ass kicker, and I am the most dominant performer in this division right now. So we need some rehab on both of them is needed, but Jordynne Grace, I think, needs it right now. So I pick her to get the win. Up next, it is Hank and Tank taking on two members of Dark State for the Tag Team Championships. I mentioned before in the look ahead, the Dark State thing has just not clicked with me. They brought them in, it made a real big impact, and then they just kind of went away. And then they lost to a couple of teams over on TNA and not high-level ones. And now they're coming back here. And the way to differentiate one from the other is that one guy makes a lot of innuendos that he's not aware that he's making. It's not clicking for me at this particular time. It's like, to call it Temu Shield is an insult to Temu. This is not a great group right now. So Hank and Tank, they've been a lot of fun, and they've added a bit of personality to this, and I think there's some potential there. I don't see them dropping the tag team titles here to Dark State. Dark State is not close to being ready for that at this particular time. Triple threat match for the TNA Knockouts Championship. Jacy Jayne against Masha Slamovich against Ash by Elegance. You had Masha as the special guest referee for the 6-woman tag on NXT from Philadelphia on Tuesday. Kind of adding another layer to this. It looks like it is obviously set up to just get the belt off of Jayne, get it onto Slamovich or Elegance, whoever you want, and just we had the moment coming out of Slammiversary. Oh man, all the belts are with NXT. This, that, and the other thing. This feels like it's set up to take it away from Jayne. Like it is almost telegraphing it too much, where I wonder if Jayne does end up getting the win here, because it feels so obvious for her to not. She cannot take the pin, and it's just for the TNA championship, so it's not even a risk of, oh, she had to defend both belts in one night or anything like that, or both belts on the line in one match, and now the NXT Women's Championship is over on TNA, and heaven forbid. So it feels so obvious that she's not going to win that I almost wonder if she's going to. I'm not there. I'm not going to do that. I think that they get Ash by Elegance, the win on this one. I felt like if Masha was going to win this and all we were doing was just having Jayne hold it for one kind of tour and Masha gets it right back, then this kind of feels weird. So I'm just going to say, for variety's sake, I'm going to say the former Dana Brooke comes away with the TNA Knockouts Championship. Up next, Jada Parker, Kalani Jordynne, and Lola Vice in a triple threat match to determine the number one contender for the NXT Women's Championship. Lola Vice getting a moment on Triple Mania the other day. Kalani Jordynne has been kind of stuck in this little tweener thing for a little bit. I think that the money with her is more on the babyface side, but again, this is NXT, it's developmental. We have talked before about the value of utilizing your talent in both the babyface and heel directions, so that when they get to the main roster, it's not Tiffany Stratton and she's 6-8 months into a title run and still hasn't exactly figured out how to be an effective babyface yet. So to use her in the heel way, I think it makes some sense. Jada Parker, again, some things have been said, but from a look and an in-ring standpoint and just all the presentation, she is right there as well. And so this is one I could see all three of them coming away with the victory in this one. And I think all three of them are at that championship level. And so I am happy that we are now elevating some talent in the NXT women's division. We've been talking for a long time about how that women's division is the most the most stacked women's division in professional wrestling right now. And it feels like a lot of them have just been like North American title picture, whatever, for a little while now. Now it's the time to elevate with Julia and with Stephanie Vaquer out of the picture. All three of these are very ready for that level of a move. And I think Kalani Jordynne, to me, makes the most sense right now. I think Jada Parker is the closest to being main roster ready at this particular time. But I think Kalani Jordynne, given that Jayne is the champion, I think that she is ready for this opportunity to move up and be in that main event picture for NXT's women's division. A mixed tag team match with Chelsea Green and Ethan Page against Tyreme Steele and Tavion Heights. They did a peace treaty attempt on Tuesday. Chelsea Green and Ethan Page are endlessly entertaining. They are, it is a perfect match with how they all just work as a team. And you can see a lot of the character stuff that Ethan Page worked on in TNA. A lot of that starting to show through in this group with Chelsea Green and the Secret Hervis. For Tyreme Steele and Tavion Heights, a lot of talk about their Olympic background and the wrestling and everything like that. I think it would be a bit of a disservice to have them lose right now. You don't want to beat Ethan Page and Chelsea Green like a drum, but these are two characters that can afford a loss, and I feel like you have built up too much in Tyreme Steele and Tavion Heights to just have them now lose in this one. I'm sure there could be some nefarious ways that could get the two Canadians a dub in this particular bout, but I think you can build up Tavion Heights into a challenger for Ethan Page. Tyreme Steele, we're working on things. There's obviously some growth that needs to be done, but there's obviously a resume that adds some legitimacy very quickly to her. So I think that there is an opportunity to do quite a bit with them, and I think more of that comes if the team of Steele and Heights end up getting the win. And that brings us to the main event. I was mistaken on Monday when I said, oh, look, it's a triple threat of Oba Femi, Javon Evans, and Trick Williams. Where have we seen that before? I guess I misread Wikipedia where maybe it said or it said or, and I thought it said versus or whatever. But it is Oba Femi against Javon Evans for the NXT Championship. This is where NXT becomes a little bit difficult to predict. Because if this is just a main roster show, Oba Femi wins this. Oba is the star right now. Javon is getting there for sure, but I don't know if he's quite at that level just yet. That being said, Oba's the star. He is main roster ready. He has been locked in, dead 100% ringer, main roster star and main roster ready for a while now. And now they have built up Javon Evans to be a legitimate main eventer on this show. You get, again, the meme GIF highlight that you can do on Tuesday where Trick Williams just sends him flying. The dude is bouncy. We all know this. But now that they have started to build it back up again, where he had a couple of feuds that didn't necessarily go his way, but you get the Undertaker endorsement. You get him getting a win over the TNA champion, Trick Williams, and getting this opportunity against Oba Femi on a PLE. I think the time could be right for a title change. So my pick is going to be Javon Evans gets the win over Oba Femi for the NXT Championship, and we see Oba up on the main roster very, very soon. So that is, those are my predictions for NXT Heatwave. Overall, again, it is a PLE that has been made to counter-program AEW. It feels like an elevated Tuesday television show, not a PLE. So, again, we can get into larger discussions about WWE doing this sort of a thing, but right now, this is what the strategy is. So, am I looking forward to this show? Not particularly. Like on my notes, I have it stacked up so that like the AEW show is ahead, and then it lists down into the NXT stuff, and that is basically the order of excitement level I have for these matches coming up on Sunday. But I still think there's at least enough interesting that it's not just going to be like Great American Bash was just a straight skip for me, but there's going to be at least enough interesting on this show that you can kind of get into it and see where they go coming out of a couple of these matches anyway. So that's your ringing endorsement for NXT. It's like, it'll be watchable and it might be interesting. So that's the ringing endorsement we have for NXT.